y'all, welcome back. Today we have for y'all a Brussels sprout and butternut squash recipe. A friend of mine sent this to me because she thought it would be something I'd like to try, and it does sound good. It is a Pioneer Woman recipe for the most part, but where she uses pomegranate seeds and pomegranate juice, I'm going to substitute in cranberries because it's what I have, and it sounds like it'll be a good addition. It's very, very colorful, and it comes together really easily. So we're going to get started. So the first thing we're going to do is start with a red onion, and we're just going to kind of cube this up into large chunks. And this is a recipe that's got a little bit of prep work, but isn't very hard at all. Our oven is preheating to 425, and per the recipe it should cook in about 20 to 25 minutes. Now we're going to have to be mindful of the chunks and how large of sizes I cut these, because that will really dictate the true cooking time. Because if you're cutting larger chunks, then it's going to take longer to cook, especially for that butternut squash. So what I really like about this recipe, before even trying it yet, is lots of colors, and it looks like a good flavor base. So I'm just going to put that in there. So we're just chopping this up into large chunks. This will not be very hard at all for that to cook down. Now, like I said, she uses 1/3 of a cup of pomegranate juice, and then she sprinkles in some pomegranates, probably mostly for color, but also for crunch and texture. So I have some cranberries left over from the sangria I made the other day, so we're going to toss some of these in. I'm just chopping up a few of them. Now, cranberries are very tart and bitter, so unless you're doing something with them, they're not really good by themselves. But we're going to see how they work in this recipe. Alright, so we're chopping up just some of the larger ones. And I'm going to finish off this little bag that I have of them. Again, I'm just kind of splitting the larger ones. Alright. Put these in the pan. And we're going to peel our butternut squash, de-seed it, and then dice it up also. I'm going to move my pan out of the way. My onion's pretty strong. I've been getting some really strong onions lately. Or maybe I'm just getting more sensitive to them. That's all chopped up. Now, if you notice, these thicker pieces I made into smaller chunks, and then the areas where I de-seeded them I made into larger chunks. That's just so that once we get this all in the oven, they cook at about the same rate. The thicker ones are going to take longer, so we want to make sure that everything cooks pretty evenly. Now, our last addition is some Brussels sprouts. And this recipe calls for about 1.5 pounds, and this is a 2-pound bag that I got from the grocery store. So it's actually a microwave-in bag, but we're not going to be using it for that today. But they're already pre-washed and everything, so they're ready to go. But we're going to use about 3/4 of it. I'm just slicing off the stem and splitting them in half. excited. Now this one is pretty large, so I'm gonna cut it a little bit more. I'm excited about this recipe. I'm hoping that it tastes as good as it sounds. This would be a really good addition to a Thanksgiving meal also, because it has those hearty vegetables that are awesome, and it's beautiful colors. Alright, y'all. So everything's chopped up. Our pan is actually fuller than what I like to see for my Brussels sprouts because it's kind of overcrowded, but this is how she said do it, so we're going to stick with what she suggested and we'll see how it goes from there. But if it was me just kind of making this, I would probably split this into 2 pans. So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil. About a teaspoon of chili powder, and then salt and pepper, and we're going to zhuzh it all around to get all these colors mixed in. Make sure it's all tossed together really well. And the Brussels sprouts want to go rogue. And get it all mixed around. It's very pretty. Make sure we get everything pretty evenly spaced so all the flavors really meld together. And y'all, I know I use my hands a lot. This is for my family, so they're used to it, but you can use a spoon. So we're going in the oven at 425 for about 20-25 minutes. I'm going to check it along the way and see how we're doing. We'll see if we need to add or subtract a little bit of time. We'll see you in a bit. Hey y'all, welcome back. So our butternut and Brussels sprout bake is out of the oven. It took right at 25 minutes to get all done. So we're going to top it with our last few additives. So one of the key ingredients they said was add some balsamic vinegar, and this is what I think is going to really make this over the top, is because it'll pull out the sweetness. Ooh, my thing's starting to get jammed. It'll pull out the sweetness of the butternut squash and the Brussels sprouts. So it says kind of do a little drizzle. So I'm just going to kind of do some splashes along since my sprayer isn't working on it. And then we'll toss it all around. There's not too much left. I don't want to add too much to overpower it, so we'll see what it tastes like. And see how pretty all of the colors. It definitely screams fall recipe. Alright, so we're going to plate it up and see how it tastes. Make sure we get a little bit of everything. So, I'll start with the Brussels sprout and see. The Brussels sprouts are nice and tender. I wouldn't say there's too much extra flavor in them though. And a little cranberry with some butternut squash. Now that is really good together. The cranberry and butternut squash really works well, and that balsamic vinegar is good with it. I don't really taste the chili powder in it. Definitely get the tartness of the cranberries with that. We're going to try, let's see. I'm going to try another Brussels sprout and see. That one got some of the balsamic vinegar. I don't really feel it adds too much to it, but for the butternut squash and the cranberries, it definitely does. I'll probably add a little bit more salt and pepper, probably a little bit more of that chili powder as well, because I really don't see where it added anything to this. So I want to see if by adding a little bit more, I get more of those flavors. I don't know that I'd make it again all together, but I definitely take this butternut squash and the cranberries and this part of the recipe and continue it exactly how it is with the balsamic vinegar, the chili powder, everything. I'll probably just do my roasted Brussels sprouts the way I normally do it, but I'm going to add a little bit more salt and pepper, a little more chili powder, and see how that changes the flavor. So I added a little more salt and pepper, and that really, I don't know if it's just that the Brussels sprouts were a little bland in that moment, but it really helped bring it together. So just monitor your seasoning level before you serve it and kind of play with it before you call it a complete loss. I think it actually works really well once properly seasoned. They all fit together beautifully. But make sure you get some of the cranberry and the balsamic vinegar in with it, and it just ties it all together. Very good. Definitely a win now once it's properly seasoned. Thank y'all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.